You've heard us talking at this table about the Energy Transition Act, the massive bill passed by lawmakers and signed by the governor this year that paves the way for PNM to recover costs of shutting down this coal-fired San Juan generating station in the Four Corners. It also sets out aggressive renewable energy standards as well, something we talked about here a bunch, as well as providing millions for retraining workers in those same Four Corners areas. All right, good stuff. The problem is that the new law sidesteps state regulators, namely the PRC, or the Public Regulation Commission. The PRC has its own timeline to deal with the power plant shutdown, and it started before the new law passed. Now, recently, the state Supreme Court affirmed that it's the PRC's choice whether to consider the new law handling the shutdown, leaving everyone from people with electric bills to coal miners to CEOs in a little bit of a limbo status, and that's how the table is set. Speaking of which, joining me today on the Line Opinion Panel, four familiar people who have all agreed to read up on the topics this week and offer their insights. Attorney and Line regular Sophie Martin, giggling over there. She always knows what's up, though, don't worry. Andy Lyman's here. He joins us. He's a reporter with the New Mexico Political Report. Thank you, Andy. Former New Mexico House Minority Whip and another Line regular, Daniel Foley, fist pumping here, and editorial page editor of the Santa Fe New Mexican newspaper, Inez Russell Gomez. Always great when you can make it down from Santa Fe. Now, Soph, briefly, does it seem like the governor and the legislature were a bit hasty passing this law? Just a real simple question, because there were a lot of things you could see coming down the road, we're going to get to in a second, that makes this decision kind of interesting.
Well, I think it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
Because there were several iterations of this bill over several years.
Fair point.
Trying to get changes in terms of the state's prioritizing of renewable energy, for instance. Mm-hmm. I think, though, that what bears sort of considering is this is one of the first bills in the country that does what this bill is trying to do. And you would expect, I think, a certain amount of stop and start at the beginning of the process. We're still very early in the life of this piece of legislation.
That's right.
And yes, there are going to have to be parts of it that sort of get figured out. What I think was interesting, though, is that two different groups both PNM and New Energy Economy went to the Supreme Court essentially saying, give me my way. And the court said, look, we have, and I shouldn't put words in their mouths because their orders were very brief. But essentially the effect of those orders was to send it back down to the PRC.
That's right.
We do have an entity who is tasked with dealing with these issues, and so it looks like that's what it will be doing.
It seems pretty simple on the surface, Inez. I mean, they're the governing body for these things. How did we get to this point where we have to have a Supreme Court decision to say, let's just have the folks who need to handle this? That's where we're at now.
Well, because it depends what law you handle it under. The governing body isn't just able to do whatever it wants. There's a constitutional amendment, obviously, that set up the Public Regulation Commission, but the power they have to regulate in some degree is given to them by the legislature and can be taken away by the legislature. And what the legislature did in passing the Energy Transition Act and the governor in signing it was say, here's how we would like you to proceed in your important job of regulation. The PRC, by using, when PNM, the utility company that's at the center of all of this, filed its docket, there was one in December of 2018. They said, no, we want to consider it under that law, not the new law.
Right.
So it's really a matter of when do you consider the big issue, which is the decommissioning of the San Juan generating plant.
Right.
At issue is getting away from coal, moving to renewable energies, and in the process, helping the cities that are going to be affected by this move. And I think as we let the process work itself out, which it's going to have to, because Sophie's exactly right, a new law is going to have some hiccups. In July, they're going to start laying off people who work in coal. And if this doesn't get resolved fairly soon, the money that's available under the Act is not going to go there.
Oh, really?
So, no,
wow.
Because it's all part of this big act. So if you're not considering the securitization, which is how you fund it, under the new law, PNM can't just go hand out dollars. They're a regulated industry.
Gotcha.
They don't have that autonomy, even if they wanted to, which they probably don't because they want to keep it. That's I shouldn't put words in PNM's mouth. But I think the state has to look at now, and this is like Workforce Solutions, the governor, those people, is there another pot of money to kind of build the gap before you go on to whatever happens next?
Wow, that's interesting. There's a lot to consider there, Daniel, the idea, there's a backdrop to this as well, interestingly, and that is in the same session that we passed this ETA, we've also decided we're going to have this body, the PRC, move from an elected body to an appointed body, and that's going to happen in January 2020. So we've got a bit of a collision course headed towards each other. What do you? Not asking for a prediction here, but is this set up for a mess here, or do you is there some wiggle room here for the PRC to get through?
Well, I think
before that happens in 2020.
I think it's going to be a tough road to hoe if you're, the people who are going to possibly be regulating you are telling you they're not happy with what you're doing, and now you're fighting what they're telling you. It's almost like telling your soon-to-be future boss that you don't like him, and then he becomes the new boss. It's, look, when we passed the PRC and created the PRC, I said, God help us when they figure out how powerful they are. As we were talking before we started, they're like the Railroad Commission in Texas. They literally have their hands in everything. And the sad part is that when you look at these situations with, in my opinion, with PNM dealing with the PRC, PNM has done a phenomenal job of going to the PRC when it benefits them, going to the legislature when it benefits them, going to the courts when it benefits them, going to advocate groups when it benefits them. And, everybody seems to be wrapped up into a lather, and the one who seems to win every time is PNM. It's a tough deal. The PRC has been, I've said, we were talking earlier, I've said this whole separation between staff and the commissioners, and the
You've been
staff
very strong
represents
about
the
that.
people. It makes no sense to me, and I think it leads to exactly the situation we're in right now, which is, you get this turnover in the PRC, you get an unbelievably, it's such a small organization with such diverse areas that they represent. Because you start going down to southeastern New Mexico where it's all co-ops. They have no desire to deal with PNM, and the stuff that affects PNM usually is counterintuitive to what the co-ops are wanting to do. It's hard to get a consensus with that organization.
Yeah. By the way, quick correction, I'm ignoring my own notes in front of me. That was a constitutional amendment. Thank you, I could feel your brain exploding there. Inez, sorry about that. I appreciate that. Andy, in your own publication, interesting quote that Kendra grabbed here, and that is from the New Energy Economies, noted a second ago, Executive Director Mariel Nanasi. She announced that court decision to a panel discussion on Santa Fe on Tuesday passed, quote, "We believe the ETA is unconstitutional, especially in regards to the eviscerating the regulatory authority of the PRC. PNM faces no competition. In exchange for that, they are to be regulated. That is the regulatory compact. If you remove that regulatory oversight, no one is protected." Interesting point there. Kind of flesh out what she was getting at there, if you would.
Again, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think that is a concern from a lot of people, and it always has been. Now we have PNM and the gas company, right? But for a long time and even going forward, there's this concern, just like any other utility, is do we have choices to use this stuff, right? And so it's kind of like we as voters, I think there's an argument that we as voters get to sit back and watch this happen, and we're just going to pay the rates. It's like we leave it up to the commission to make these decisions for us, and we're going to have to pay the rates regardless.
Sophie, the idea that the ratepayer, this faceless, nameless thing that we all are.
Ratepayer.
Right, exactly. Where is their voice in this? Do you see what I mean? Suddenly the ratepayer's like, you guys are going to have to pay for this. You guys are going to have to pay for that. Transmissions lines.
Well, I think that's at the heart. I think that's at the heart of the heartache here, because essentially, New Energy Economy and this sort of cluster of organizations that they are working with are saying, in theory at least, the PRC is the voice of the ratepayer. They are an elected body. Never mind that I think that for many voters, they think less about the PRC than they do about their local school board. But they are the elected body that is, at least in theory, supposed to represent the ratepayer in these conversations. And the fear, the concern is that the PRC, if the PRC was not to have a real voice in how the San Juan closure, for instance, happens, and the financial impact on the taxpayer and the ratepayer, that voice is then lost, essentially.
So, Sylvia, I just want to ask you, and I'm not being a smart when I ask you this. See, that's the problem I've got. Is I don't believe it's the PRC that's supposed to represent the ratepayer. It's the staff that's supposed to represent the ratepayer versus the utility. And the PRC guys folks are supposed to be like the judges. They're supposed to not have these ex parte communications. And they're so you got the staff that's supposed to represent the ratepayer. You got the PNM that's asking for what they want, and then you got this group of people that are made up of average everyday citizens that are supposed to be the final ruling body without talking to the staff or talking
There is
to
at least some
the reg-
accountability with the PRC, in theory, with
You would hope,
elections. With
right?
elections,
Yeah,
right.
no, you would hope.
On
And
paper,
you would
that's
hope,
right.
and then and then we've got the whole, the whole situation where you've got folks, that are getting the public financing to run for the PRC,
right.
which some will say is good, some will say is bad. You got, the regulated utilities aren't supposed to give money, but I mean, it's just a whole.
What do you think the voters are going to be on this?
I think the
on
voters
this?
have no idea. I think
Yeah.
I think the voters are. I think Sophie's right. I think you go to any voter and say PRC, they're like, ugh. I don't think they know what they do. They don't understand it. Right. Anybody that you talk to that's a voter that's had a dealing with the PRC, I don't know anybody that's come back that said that is an unbelievably efficient form of government. Those guys do a phenomenal job. Anybody that's had the deal with them comes back and goes, oh my God.
Let me ask Inez the same question. This is hanging out there now for voters to chew on, and they're seeing, as these guys are saying, some seeing the PRC as a watchdog and some as the enemy. Where's the voter fit in on this for this constitutional amendment?
I think a lot of it depends on how you make your case, and it's hilarious to me that New Energy Economy is now
Yes.
calling PRC the watchdog,
Yes.
because that's a group that is pretty much disagree
you.
with every decision that they make on PNM, and
Noisily, yes.
and the PRC has approved all of those awful investments that PNM has made, all of those terrible decisions, all the things that they should now supposedly pay for were endorsed by one form of the PRC or another.
That's right.
So you're telling the utility company now, you need to pay us back for all these bad choices you made, which we agreed with now, but now we want you to. So it's just, the whole thing is so complicated.
That's right.
I think that if you can make a case to voters that regulation is huge, complicated, and hard, and that if we want to be nimble in our economy, we need smart, fair, and educated on the issues, not just college educations, but regulatory issues, people, and that if you can have a regulatory process that doesn't put all the power to the governor, all the power to the legislature, and can screen people so that maybe every appointment is like Doug Howe, who was perhaps Susana Martinez's best appointment, a former PRC member.
That's right.
And you have people who can do their jobs well, and then perhaps restructure it a little bit, as the legislature is also talking about doing through laws next session.
That's right.
So that you have more staff, more help in actually getting out and finding the information they need to make decisions. We could have a body that will work, even if it isn't directly elected by the voters.
There's your marching orders, folks, right there. We'll keep an eye out on this, but we're out of time for now. When this group returns, we're talking pure politics and the race for Tom Udall's Senate seat.